Picture this. You're visiting an animal rescue shelter. Sunlight streams through dusty windows, and the air is filled with the soft, uncertain sounds of animals waiting for a home. You kneel beside a row of cages, and there, a tabby cat you've never met looks up at you with bright green eyes, its tail gently swaying. Without thinking, you reach out your hand. The cat, knowing nothing about your past, leans in. For a brief moment, an unspoken understanding forms, a fragile truce balanced between caution and trust. Or think back to the first time a horse breathed into your open palm. The warmth, the slow, steady rhythm of its breath, the quiet presence of a creature that is both immensely powerful and unexpectedly gentle. Or maybe your experience comes through a screen. Perhaps you're one of the millions who watched a dolphin rescue online and felt an immediate wave of hope, compassion, or awe for a creature from another species. But stop and think about it for a moment. Our willingness to approach, or even trust, animals we've never encountered before is actually quite remarkable. Humans evolved to survive by being cautious, skeptical, and constantly alert. So why do so many of us, not just devoted animal lovers, instantly feel safe, connected, or deeply moved by animals we've only just met? Why do we lower our guard and offer trust when our evolutionary instincts should be warning us to stay away from the unfamiliar? Today, we're exploring that mystery, because the impulse to pet a cat, greet a dog, or even tear up while watching a baby elephant on social media isn't just heartwarming or random. It's a fascinating trait, deeply rooted in human nature. Over the next few minutes, we'll uncover an evolutionary puzzle, explore ancient traditions, and examine surprising scientific discoveries that may reveal more about ourselves than about the animals we admire. Here's the twist. To understand why we trust animals, we first have to understand why humans are capable of trust in the first place. So let's begin and discover just how deep and how ancient this connection truly is. Let's begin with the confession. From a strict evolutionary perspective, the impulse to trust an unfamiliar animal is unusual. Humans are descended from survivors, the people who reacted to every rustle in the bushes, questioned every shadow, and treated the unknown as something potentially dangerous. For most of human history, making the wrong judgment about an animal could mean a venomous bite, a sudden attack, or a deadly disease. Yet today, millions of us happily swim with stingrays, encourage squirrels to eat from our hands, and stop to admire puppies we pass on the street. Why do so many of us override the brains, built-in risk assessment, and instinctively reach towards something furry, feathered, or even scaled? At first glance, it seems like a contradiction in our evolutionary story, but the answer reaches much deeper into the structure of our brains and the long path of human evolution. One clue lies in our natural response to cuteness. Scientists call this neoteny, the retention of youthful features into adulthood. Think of large eyes, round faces, small noses, soft limbs, and high-pitched sounds. These features, common in human babies, trigger powerful caregiving instincts in adults. But here's the fascinating part. A panda cub, a kitten, or even the wide-eyed face of a tree frog can activate many of the same responses. Our brains don't always draw a sharp line between our own children and other young creatures. As mammals, we're naturally inclined to nurture, and for many people, that nurturing instinct becomes the foundation of trust. Another key player is oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. When you make eye contact with a friendly dog, or even watch an adorable piglet on your phone, your brain releases oxytocin. The effect is subtle but powerful. You feel calmer, more connected, and less defensive. Even more remarkable, studies show that dogs experience a similar rise in oxytocin when people pet them. This ancient chemical has helped build trust and cooperation for millions of years, and its influence doesn't stop at the boundary between species. Now, the story takes an extraordinary turn. Thousands of years ago, when humans lived beside campfires on the edge of the wilderness, A few wolves begin creeping closer to those glowing circles of light. No one knows exactly why. Perhaps they were hungry. Perhaps they were drawn by warmth or scraps of food. Most stayed away, but a few remained nearby. At the same time, a handful of humans made an equally bold choice. Instead of throwing stones, they tolerated the wolves' presence. That unlikely relationship marked the beginning of domestication, a slow partnership that eventually gave us dogs, the only animals whose facial expressions have evolved to communicate so effectively with humans. That first moment, when a wolf pup rolled onto its back instead of showing its teeth, and a human offered food instead of violence, changed history. What began as an enormous risk became one of the strongest partnerships the natural world has ever seen. So, was it all an evolutionary accident? Have our instincts simply been hijacked by baby faces and ancient bonding hormones? Or is there a deeper reason why humans are willing to extend trust beyond our own species? Domesticated animals helped us hunt, protect settlements, transport goods, and reshape entire civilizations. Trust, although risky at times, often created relationships that improved our chances of survival. But the story doesn't end there. This instinct isn't universal, and it isn't always safe. It's about far more than soft fur and expressive eyes. Throughout history, trust between humans and animals has sometimes led to remarkable cooperation, and sometimes to devastating consequences. That's where the mystery becomes even more fascinating. Just when you think you understand why humans trust animals, history reveals an entirely different side of the story. To understand just how deep and how varied our trust in animals really is, we need to travel back thousands of years, to a time before cities, before writing, and before civilizations on different continents even knew each other existed. Trusting, respecting, and sometimes fearing animals wasn't simply a way of life. It was central to survival, spirituality, and the foundations of society itself. Across the ancient world, the boundary between humans and animals was far less defined than it is today. Imagine the frozen wilderness of prehistoric Siberia. Across the vast, icy taiga, hunter-gatherer communities preserved their stories not on paper, but through oral traditions, reindeer hides, and the rhythms of nature itself. It was a world filled with predators, wolves, bears, and the now extinct cave lions. In such an environment, caution was essential. Yet for Siberian shamans, the spiritual leaders of their communities, animals were far more than threats or sources of food. They were companions, guides, and guardians of unseen worlds. Every hunt began not with the spear, but with ceremony. Shamans wore cloaks decorated with antlers and claws, covering their faces with soot and ochre, until the line between human and animal seemed to disappear. During deep trance states, many described becoming an eagle or a bear as they journeyed into the spirit world to seek guidance, protection, or forgiveness. Foxes, lynxes, elk, and countless other animals were believed to carry lessons and warnings. They possessed knowledge beyond human understanding, revealing where herds would travel, when storms would arrive, and how life and death remained connected. To betray that relationship or show disrespect toward animals was believed to invite famine, illness, or disaster. Their entire worldview rested on the belief that trusting animals was essential to surviving another day. Now travel to a very different world, the sunlit cities of ancient Egypt. Here, trust in animals evolved from practical necessity into sacred devotion. The streets of Thebes and Memphis were filled with cats, ordinary house cats resting in courtyards or wandering through homes with the effortless confidence that cats still display today. But in Egypt, they were far more than skilled hunters of rodents. They represented Bastet, the goddess of home, fertility, and protection. Harming a cat wasn't simply considered bad luck. It was an act of sacrilege, and in some cases, it could even be punished by death. Families welcomed cats into their homes, not only because they controlled pests, but because they were believed to bring divine protection. When a cherished cat died, it was often mummified with extraordinary care, wrapped in linen, adorned with protective amulets, and placed inside beautifully crafted miniature sarcophagi. Some temples even maintained entire sanctuaries devoted to sacred cats, where priests cared for them and regarded them as living messengers of the divine. In ancient Egypt, cats were both trusted companions and spiritual intermediaries. The relationship became so deeply rooted that it influenced religion, art, and daily life itself. These ancient beliefs, ranging from spiritual partnership to complete devotion, may seem unfamiliar today, but they reveal an enduring truth. Human trust in animals isn't a modern invention, nor is it simply a practical adaptation. It is an ancient relationship shaped by survival, fear, imagination, and hope. Whether an animal was viewed as prey, a spiritual guide, or even a living deity, trust was never simple or one-sided. It was constantly evolving, mutually influential, and always being renegotiated. Yet that trust looked very different depending on where people lived, when they lived, and what they believed about the world. Was it instinct? Was it cultural tradition? Or was it a deeply human desire to avoid facing a vast and unpredictable world alone? Perhaps it was all of those things at once. And as we leave behind the world of myth and ritual and step into the discoveries of modern science, one question remains: have humans truly changed all that much, or do we still perform our own quiet rituals of trust with animals every single day without even realizing it? The answer lies inside the remarkable biology of empathy, where this ancient connection is written directly into our nervous systems. What actually happens inside the hidden pathways of our minds when a dog rests its head on our lap, or a kitten curls up against our chest and begins to purr? Why do we feel that quiet wave of warmth, a protective instinct, or even a simple sense of happiness? For centuries, philosophers speculated about humanity's connection with animals. Today, neuroscience offers a clearer answer. Animals can activate our emotional systems in remarkable ways, and our brains have evolved to respond. At the center of this phenomenon is a group of specialized brain cells, known as mirror neurons, first identified in the 1990s. These neurons become active not only when we perform an action ourselves, but also when we watch someone else, whether human or animal, perform the same action. When you watch a puppy chasing its tail or a bird carefully grooming its feathers, your brain quietly mirrors those movements, helping you imagine and emotionally connect with what the animal is experiencing. This neural mirroring is why we instinctively react when a puppy cries, feel disappointed when a cat misses a jump, or celebrate when a young bird finally takes flight. We aren't simply watching, our brains are participating. Another important piece of the puzzle involves what scientists call the baby schema. Large eyes, round faces, small noses, and soft features naturally activate the brain's caregiving systems. Human babies have these characteristics, but so do puppies, kittens, and many other young animals. These features stimulate our reward centers, encouraging us to nurture, protect, and, most importantly, trust. It's an ancient response that also explains why people smile at cartoon animals or spend hours watching videos of playful baby goats. Evolution has made us especially sensitive to signs of vulnerability, even when they appear in another species. Then there is oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. Oxytocin is released during moments of affection, caregiving, and prolonged eye contact, including the kind we share with our pets. When you pet a cat or receive a gentle lick from a dog, both your brain and the animals release oxytocin, creating a powerful biological connection. This hormone helps lower stress, reduce blood pressure, and strengthen feelings of safety and trust. In one well-known study conducted in Japan, researchers asked dog owners to maintain eye contact with their pets for several minutes before measuring hormone levels. Both the humans and the dogs showed significant increases in oxytocin, demonstrating a remarkable biological feedback loop that strengthens trust between two different species. But our brains don't always express affection in predictable ways. Consider the strange phenomenon known as cute aggression, the surprising urge to squeeze, pinch, or jokingly pretend to bite something that is overwhelmingly adorable. Although it sounds contradictory, researchers believe this reaction helps regulate emotions that become almost too intense to process. Rather than being a sign of aggression, it reflects just how strongly our emotional and empathetic systems are responding. These same biological systems also allow emotions to spread from animals to humans. Research involving therapy animals has repeatedly shown that simply being near a calm animal can reduce stress. In hospitals, therapy dogs have been introduced into pediatric wards where children, parents, doctors, and nurses all experienced lower anxiety and reduced stress levels. Healthcare workers even reported feeling less emotionally exhausted after watching children interact with the animals. Similar findings have emerged in programs supporting trauma recovery, children with autism, and people managing cardiovascular conditions. The presence of animals appears to create an environment that naturally encourages emotional calm and connection. Yet an important question remains. If our trust in animals is shaped by hormones, mirror neurons, and ancient survival instincts, are we experiencing genuine connection? Or are we simply responding to powerful biological programming? Or perhaps those biological mechanisms are themselves evidence that evolution intended humans to build meaningful relationships beyond our own species. If our minds are designed to respond so naturally to animals, is that merely instinct? Or could it be one of humanity's oldest forms of friendship? Whatever the answer may be, one thing is clear: the science of empathy is every bit as remarkable as the ancient bond that first brought humans and animals together. But before we become too comfortable with that idea, we have to consider the other side of the story. Trust, as beautiful as it can be, sometimes fails. Sometimes our instincts mislead us, and our affection for animals places us in unexpected danger. That's where the next chapter begins, exploring the moments when trust goes wrong and the consequences become impossible to ignore. So far, trusting animals might sound like one of humanity's greatest strengths, a trait that comforted our ancestors and continues to enrich our lives today. But history, and even the internet, tell a more complicated story. For every heartwarming example of friendship between humans and animals, there is another story that begins with good intentions and ends in injury, disappointment, or complete chaos. Consider our fascination with exotic animals. We've all seen the videos, an influencer cuddling what appears to be a tame fox, or someone proudly introducing a pet monkey that initially seems as playful as a child, but reality often tells a different story. The fox starts destroying furniture and chewing electrical wires. The monkey becomes aggressive, using its teeth and claws. What first looked adorable can quickly lead to emergency medical treatment, legal problems, or permanent injuries. Wildlife rehabilitation centers regularly receive animals surrendered by people who believed affection alone could overcome the instincts of a wild predator, or even a small exotic pet. No matter how gentle an animal may appear, its natural behaviors never completely disappear. Misplaced trust extends beyond dangerous animals. It also fuels an enormous market for pet-related scams. Fraudulent sellers advertise the perfect puppy, a heartbreaking rescue story, or a rare parrot available with only a small deposit required. These scams are carefully designed to exploit our compassion and our willingness to trust. The very qualities that allow us to connect so deeply with animals can also make us vulnerable to people who understand exactly how to manipulate those emotions. History offers equally revealing examples. During the Victorian era, fascination with unusual pets reached extraordinary levels. Wealthy families proudly kept squirrels, dormice, talking birds, and even turtles decorated with painted numbers for small races and wagers. Little thought was given to the environmental consequences. The introduction of non-native squirrels into Britain contributed to ecological problems that continue today, damaging native wildlife and permanently altering local ecosystems. What began as a fashionable trend ultimately left lasting harm for both animals and the environment. So why do so many of us read stories like these and quietly believe they could never happen to us? Why do we assume that we would recognize the danger, avoid the scam, or somehow build a unique bond with the wild animal that everyone else failed to understand? Human trust often carries a subtle form of optimism, the belief that this encounter will be different, that this animal will respond differently, and that our own experience will become the exception rather than the rule. That creates an important question. Can this ancient instinct to trust animals ever be fully controlled? Or will humans always feel drawn toward connection despite the risks? And beneath that lies an even deeper question. Are the dangers we face today simply another chapter in a story that has existed for thousands of years, where every meaningful relationship carries both reward and risk? Before answering, consider one final idea. In the modern world, this ancient instinct has become something else entirely. Animal companionship has become an industry, with pets marketed not only as companions, but also as products, lifestyles, and symbols of identity. What happens when one of humanity's oldest instincts becomes part of a global business? That's where the story takes its next unexpected turn. Welcome to the pet-obsessed present, where trust in animals has grown into an industry so massive it rivals the GDP of entire nations. Globally, we spend more than $150 billion a year on pets. And that number keeps climbing faster than a Labrador jumping onto a kitchen counter. This goes far beyond kibble and squeaky toys. It's a high-stakes economic and emotional investment, reshaping not only our homes, but entire markets, cities, and even our sense of identity. Take a look at today's surreal pet economy. Luxury dog hotels offer memory foam beds and Paulates classes. Cats livestream their daily lives to millions of fans, while rabbits star in high-end photo shoots. Therapy guinea pigs help calm stressed executives during workplace wellness sessions. You can buy a pet stroller that's more advanced than many baby strollers, or insure your bearded dragon against reptilian mishaps with a policy longer than most novels. There are AI-powered smart feeders, DNA tests that reveal your dog's ancestry, organic paw balm for dry paws, and subscription boxes designed to cure seasonal boredom. Then there are the pet celebrities. Instagram is home to millionaire pets like Jifpom, the Pomeranian, whose hairstyle is more recognizable than many world leaders, and Grumpy Cat, who turned one unforgettable scowl into internet history. These animal influencers land brand deals, sell merchandise, and attract crowds of fans, eager to pet them or snap a selfie with a sunglasses-wearing dog. For many people, pets have evolved from companions into muses, personal brands, and even surrogate children. But why? Why do so many people living in cities, where nature is often limited to weeds growing through sidewalk cracks, invest so much time, money, and emotion into animals? Why do we spend more effort planning our cats' Halloween costumes than attending our cousins' weddings? Part of the answer is loneliness, a growing epidemic in modern society. Cities may be crowded, but they can also be deeply isolating. A dog's wagging tail, or a hamster's endless energy can become more than comforting. They can become emotional lifelines. For others, pets provide a safe place for emotions without fear of judgment. Countless viral videos show emotional reunions between military service members and their dogs. Watch one in an office and try not to pretend you're checking your email while wiping away tears. It's almost universal. At some point, nearly everyone who has owned a pet, or even spent time scrolling through TikTok, has felt emotionally connected to an animal they've never actually met. If you've ever cried during a dog's reunion, smiled at a goat wearing pajamas, or whispered your thoughts to a goldfish, you've experienced the powerful pull of modern animal trust. And there's really no going back. But our relationship with pets now extends beyond affection. More and more, animals are filling roles once held by family members, close friends, and community traditions. They become confidants, silent listeners who never judge. They become fur babies, complete with birthday parties and professional, holiday photo sessions. They become part of our identity, helping define who we are and, sometimes, how others see us. Our investment is no longer just financial, it's deeply personal. Pets comfort us, challenge us, calm us, and often make us feel more connected to the world around us. Yet here's the twist that makes all of this spending and emotion feel surprisingly fragile. Is this explosion of animal-centered care, commerce, and creativity really about trusting animals? Or is it also revealing something missing within ourselves? Are we reaching toward animals because we trust them, or because we're finding it harder to trust other people? These are difficult questions, and the deeper you look, the more it seems that our obsession with pets may be less about puppies and parrots, and more about the hidden needs and longings of modern human life. But before we dismiss it as simple human projection, it's only fair to recognize something important. Sometimes the animals reach back. They choose us in ways that seem impossible to explain or profit from. Across the animal kingdom, remarkable bonds continue to form, unexpected connections that no one could have predicted. A gentle nudge, a rescue, a friendship that crosses the boundaries between species. Coming up, we'll explore these extraordinary relationships that challenge cynicism and remind us that trust sometimes flows both ways, even across the widest divides between humans and animals. Not every story of animal trust begins with humans. Sometimes animals choose to trust first, showing empathy that crosses the boundaries of species. In central Congo, researchers watched a bonobo protect a frightened bushbuck fawn from danger, gently comforting it until it was safe. Elsewhere, a combat veteran named Mark found healing through River, a retired racehorse. Their quiet bond helped both recover from emotional scars. Scientists have also observed elephants, dolphins, birds, and dogs displaying remarkable acts of care and cooperation. These moments suggest that trust between humans and animals may be deeper and more extraordinary than we ever imagined. Our ancestors once gathered around fires to share stories about animals. Today, we watch endless animal videos online, forming emotional connections with creatures we'll never meet. From viral cat memes to TikTok pet stars, digital animals spark joy, empathy, and comfort. Even virtual pets and AI companions encourage us to care for them, activating instincts once reserved for real animals. But does loving a digital pet create the same trust as bonding with a living one? As algorithms increasingly shape what we see, they may also influence how we connect, raising new questions about trust, empathy, and the future of human-animal relationships. Animal trust has shaped human history, from helping our ancestors survive to building civilization through the domestication of animals. It has inspired art, supported healing, and taught empathy across generations. Yet trust also carries responsibility. Poor choices can harm animals and ecosystems, while thoughtful actions can protect both. Every interaction, adopting a pet, rescuing wildlife, supporting conservation, or even engaging with animal content online reflects how we value this ancient bond. Trust is never passive. It has the power to heal or harm. The question is not whether we trust animals, but whether we do so with wisdom, compassion, and understanding. Think back to the first animal you truly connected with, whether it was a playful puppy, a curious rabbit, or even a tiny insect. That moment may have quietly shaped your sense of empathy. Trusting an animal means accepting uncertainty, while reaching across the boundary between species. When an animal returns that trust with a gentle glance or quiet companionship, it reminds us that connection is possible despite our differences. These simple encounters link us to humanity's oldest traditions of compassion and belonging. In the end, animal trust reflects not only who they are, but who we choose to become.